Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, Eddie Gagnon. And in the opposite corner, Kristen Gagnon. This is What's Special About Special.
I wanted to say that.
Well, hello there. My name's Eddie Gagnon.
Eddie, I don't want to be here all night.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. My name's Eddie Gagnon. That was perfect. Kristen.
Your voice.
All right, listeners, welcome back to another episode. I know you hate it when I start episodes like that, but I feel like I bring a certain energy, and our listeners definitely look forward to it.
Oh, everyone probably loves you way more than they love me, so that's cool.
I get a lot of compliments on how good my voice is.
Oh, yeah.
So check out our new commercial. It's hilarious.
It's not a commercial, but yeah. Welcome back, guys. We're real pumped to have you back for this week's episode. We were able to speak to such a great guest this week. I am already motivated to start working out and exercise and be my best, most healthy self. This week's episode, we spoke to Matt Ney from Kakana. It is a fantastic resource, so enjoy the show. Hey listeners, Instacart is our favorite new shopping tool.
Instacart.
With Instacart, groceries are delivered in as little as 1 hour.
1 hour.
They even have multiple stores available, so you can shop all your favorites on one single order.
All your favorites.
They have the products you love from your local stores.
Local stores?
Instacart highlights deals to help you save money.
Saving money.
And they'll pick the freshest produce and keep all your eggs safe too.
Fucking fresh.
Listeners, you'll get free delivery on your first order over $35 just by following the link in our show notes. That'll let Instacart know that we sent you, and you get to help support our show.
Instacart.
All right, so welcome, Matt Ney from Kakana. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're real excited for this episode. It's like, kicking off season 2 for us, and we've kind of been itching to talk to people again. So I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think you guys are it's a great podcast, and I'm excited to be here.
Thanks.
Yeah, you kind of just jumped right in there. No warning. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
I did not.
You ready?
I didn't know we were starting until we were right here.
Yeah, we're here. It started. It already started, so be ready.
Here. Okay.
Perfect. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about you.
So I am from Washington, D.C., and I have just launched a company. I have a child on the way. A 2-year-old, and so my life is sane and calm and
yeah, I'm sure
stress free,
and everything's normal.
Yeah, just to let you on a little secret, it doesn't get less calm. All of us. You don't wake up and then you're like, oh, now the 2s are over. It's so much calmer now. I remember people would tell us the terrible 2s. I'm like, it's like the terrible 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We've experienced all the way up to 12. We'll let you know how 13 goes.
I feel like once they hit about 10, they start to kind of balance out. But, for girls, our son, I don't know what to expect. It's a little more.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, my child the other day was pissed, and so she decided to lay down flat on her back in the middle of the parking lot.
Fantastic.
All right, well, I guess you win.
That's fantastic. Oh, it's so funny. I have this story that I told once or I'm just told a few times, but our daughter was the queen of temper tantrums. And she was beyond the temper tantrum phase. She was probably 4. Yeah, because I was pregnant. So she's probably 4. And we were in the middle of Target. And she just wasn't getting her way. And she was hungry and she was overtired. And out of nowhere, she just threw herself on the floor and just started screaming. And it was really busy. It was the holiday season. And I just stood there thinking, well, I have 2 ways I could go about this. I could get really angry and make a scene and someone calls social services, or I can play your game. And I just threw myself on the floor and was just screaming. I was fine. And I pretended to cry. And she just stood up and looked at me and dead face and was oh, And I was like, are we done? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And everyone around us was like giggling. And I was like, I don't know another way to handle this because I'm going to lose my mind in the middle of this store.
That may be one of the best stories I've ever heard.
You got to get creative.
I probably would have taken to A and dragged her by her ankles around the store with me and said, "Oh, do you need a new pillow for the floor?"
Listen, for the record, I've also done that. Like, I'm no saint here. It was a spur of the moment idea. And I just said, I'm going to throw myself on the ground and I'm going to play her game. And it worked. I've done it a couple other times since then, like where I just start yelling when they're yelling and they kind of look at you like.
Just do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah, just do the same thing they're doing.
Yeah, you mirror it and they look at you and say, tell me that's not what I look like. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I should do it to adults, I feel like.
I do.
Some need it.
Some do need it.
Yeah.
So, so you're a busy guy with 2 kids. You live in DC now? Have you always lived in DC?
I've lived in either DC or the DC suburbs in my entire life.
Awesome.
Went to school up by you guys, Holy Cross.
Okay.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Back down.
It's definitely too cold up here. I am the opposite of someone who enjoys New England weather.
Yeah.
Like there's not a piece. I say on a weekly basis, maybe we could just move to California. Like we can't just uproot our business and decide to move to California, but it would be fantastic if we could.
Yeah. We're also not moving to California.
It's tough to argue with 70 and sunny in Southern California, right?
All day long. See, Eddie has a bad taste.
Too many people. Way too many people.
I tried to explain that California is very large, but we've been to California, but we only went to like the LA
the coast,
area.
Right? So we went through it
was dry, it was
Santa
dirty.
Ana, Santa Ana, like Santa Monica, like all those places. I don't know.
Yeah, we went to Disneyland and then we drove up the coast to LA. We stayed in LA for a couple days, but it was like the driest season they've ever had. And it was 4th of July weekend. So it was just completely packed with people.
Typical summer because it's always dry.
We could argue this all day. Anyways, Eddie doesn't like California and I could live there forever.
You don't sound like a Massachusetts person at all.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about your story, how you're connected to the disabilities community.
Yeah. So I had a previous company called Fitbound that we were creating short bursts of exercise, 2 to 5 minutes in length for classroom teachers that they could quickly click on a workout or a video and stream it through their Promethean board or their projection. And the kids could get up, follow along to the video, and then go back to doing what they're doing, right? And help to combat sedentary behavior, help to keep kids moving throughout the day. Yeah. And look, it stimulates the brain. It helps in education. And while I was in the classrooms, kind of just doing my own research about what works, what doesn't, I kept finding that, give or take 30% of the kids weren't doing it, weren't participating. And look, it could have been the video sucked and they didn't like it. And that was certainly some didn't want to participate no matter what it was. Yeah. And, sometimes a teacher would just kind of say, do what you can. And I kept thinking to myself, well, do what you can is kind of just a big F you.
Yes.
And so I dove a little deeper and started asking teachers, what's your thought process here? Why are the kids not doing it? And on a consistent basis, special education was one of the things that kept coming up. Mm-hmm. And, not everyone can do it. Not everyone can process it. Not everyone can do it at the same speed. And I kept, I left thinking to myself, well, it's not the teacher's problem or fault.
Right.
What they're doing is I was trying to make their life simpler.
Right.
It was my problem. It was my fault. I was creating content or facilitating content for 80% of the student population.
Right.
And so I decided, I just went home and I started searching and this is about 2.5 years ago. So a decent amount of time. And certainly pre-COVID. Right. So, I just started searching inclusive exercise, accessible fitness, and I just found nothing.
No.
I should take that back. I found some things. I found 3 videos on YouTube of grandparents with a singular video with a monotone voice in the background saying, now you can move left.
Yeah.
Now you can move right. And I just thought to myself, this is crazy. There's nothing out there that's of really high quality workouts, but also high quality content and production value.
Right.
And as fate would have it, around that time, someone contacted me to buy that company and that kind of video list. And I took them up on it. And I had, in between that gap, I had already reached out to the Lakeshore Foundation in Birmingham and NICPAD and the inclusion, their government entity, NICPAD, and had pitched them the idea to create 15 inclusive videos for the classroom. And they took me up on it. And so we created those. They're still up on my Fitbound website. And they're free for teachers. I sold the rest of them because that wasn't ready yet.
Right.
Part of the sale was that wasn't ever going to be part of it. Because that was my next idea.
Right.
Right.
And so that went up, and I thought to myself, well, why can't there be a dedicated platform for accessible fitness, inclusive fitness, that is focused first on accessibility, but doesn't lose the quality value?
Right.
And not just that, but building a platform that wraps community around a common theme. And my theme was fitness.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a key, because I feel like there are other platforms out there, or you can go on YouTube and watch a video here and there, but none of it's connected.
Exactly. So
that consistency.
You're picking one off here and there, but you're still isolated. You're still on your own.
Right.
And what you're talking about with your group, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're hammering messages back and forth. Your shared experiences.
Yes.
You're living with each other, which makes the process, the idea so much more powerful, and just you feel more of a part of a community. And so it took, I had assembled 10 companies to film on-demand videos.
Okay.
And then COVID hit. And obviously the film shoot got scrubbed.
Right.
And I was kind of back at the starting point, trying to figure out, okay, well, what do we do? I've got this amazing idea that no one has told me is stupid yet. I've talked to countless nonprofits, countless therapeutic rec.
Yeah. And everyone must have been so ready to jump on board, because it's just such a concept that isn't out there right now. And this community gets so, for lack of a better word, marginalized, where it's just like, well, they wouldn't be interested, or they couldn't do it, or anything like that.
Yeah. And it was, I knew I had something because no one had told me I was an idiot. And so usually someone's always going to tell you you're an idiot and it's never going to work. Right.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to a friend of mine who is a master trainer at SoulCycle here in DC. And around that time I had signed up for Peloton's 90-day free trial.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, well, why can't we make a Peloton type platform that's accessible?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Sunny, who is the master trainer, Sunny Miller. And for my money, she's the best cycling teacher on the planet, just the energy and expertise. And I said, I have a hand cycle. You can put it on the table and use it with your hands or your arms, and you can put it on the ground and use it with your legs.
Yep.
Like, can you help me create exercises and put a cycling class together, similar to Peloton cycling and similar to SoulCycle cycling and similar to every other cycling class on the planet, but we're going to make it accessible. And we just started just ripping things off, and this works, this doesn't. And we started a beta class in June.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize it was that like recent.
Yeah. We launched in October. We're about a month and a half old.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, no, like putting the research into it too. I mean, I love hearing that. Like, it's more of a, there was a desire. You guys are actually like putting a lot of passion into that to make sure that it's going to be as beneficial as possible.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of good. It was so worth it.
Right.
But going from being ready to launch and then pivoting really, because we went from on demand to this what is now called cross cycle, which would be live. And so we completely pivoted. I completely pivoted the whole company.
Right.
And I put out feelers to friends and to people I had previously talked to, and put out on Facebook that we're going to run a beta class. It's free Monday and Wednesdays at noon. We got about 15 people, and we just started running these classes. And after every class, I sent them a survey and said, "Can you fill this out?"
Yeah.
And from, tell me what sucks, tell me what you like, tell me what needs work that could be good but isn't there yet.
Yeah.
And I just started accumulating data with Sunny. And at the end of the month, my final question was, would you pay for this?
Yeah.
And everyone said yes. Of those 15 members, I think 12 are now paying members, or of the 15 beta class individuals, 12 are now members. So they're stuck with
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
And,
I feel like, especially in this community, like, even with us, our son is only 8, or almost 9, but what's the word? Like the ability to access things like physical therapy, occupational therapy is so minimal, even for him.
Oh, having those resources there, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
And it's more needed than ever. And that little bit of, and it is, honestly, it is statistically proven. Like if you have some sort of, especially like a physical disability or anything, your chances of, being in a higher weight class, having heart issues, all of these medical issues that come along with being less active.
Yep.
So being able to add to this, and if you can do it, if there's a membership included, like there are a lot of people that would be willing to jump into that, because what are the alternatives? There's nothing as an alternative. It's not like they're doing 14 different memberships like the other community. Like this is the membership they would jump into. There's not a bunch of others going on.
Yeah, no, it's a community that is not usually marketed to.
Right.
Communities of individuals with disabilities are usually the ones, well, we're going to do this, and then here's the accessible side.
Yes. Yep. And it's like a minimal amount of accessibility. It's not helping everyone. It's helping a group of.
Yeah. And so I wanted to flip that on its head. I want to say, well, we're accessible first, and then here's what we're going to do on the other side.
Yeah.
And the community for me was the biggest thing to get right, because, starting during COVID, you can't go anywhere, or you shouldn't go anywhere. And what we did was we decided in the beta class that it was important to not only work out, but then connect. And so I was walking, I think it was at a point in time where my daughter Addie was having a tantrum in the middle of a parking lot. I was just thinking, I was off daydreaming about what we could make, how to make it better, and ignoring her nonsense. And I started thinking about, what do people do live? Right. And this is, no one else is doing this in the world. And so what we do before our classes is all of our instructors get on 10 minutes early, and we call it a virtual locker room. And whoever's taking that live class to that day or that hour has the option of jumping on 10 minutes early and hanging out.
Wow.
And so what we do is we just have a conversation. It could be as stupid as what your favorite Thanksgiving side is, or as complex as, hey, I couldn't do that exercise yesterday or earlier this afternoon or whatever it is. Can you show me an adaptation, a variation that I can do personally?
Wow.
Right.
Well, what a better time. There's not a better time for something like that, especially adding in that little element, because yes, most of America right now, or some of America right now, are still quarantined. I mean, I know up here in New England, like we're actually ramping back up, where we are. So, we're getting quarantined. And then you add on, if you're in this community, a lot of people have a lot of complex medical needs. They're quarantining even more just to keep themselves safe. And I mean, we've said it multiple times. I keep saying, I don't know what kind of impact this is going to have on like the youth in 10, 15 years, but I'm kind of scared to see, because it's one thing to have a couple months of seclusion. It's another thing to have a year or more of not just, but even just wearing a mask adds an element of anxiety, adds an element of lots of different things, not seeing people's facial expressions. And to be able to offer something where you can see someone's facial expressions, we can connect, and you can have conversations, like real conversations, and you're getting this exercise in, is so huge for this community. It's so huge for the community in general, anybody, but especially this community. Like it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to go in with, the pre-made, well, I have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And, it's like-minded people. Everyone's there to do their own work and work out. But at the same time, everyone's there to help.
Right.
And help how they wish, or help how they would want to be helped. Right. And so we look at it as it's like-minded souls, just binding together. And it's been amazing. I mean, we've got people who are texting and emailing each other. They've never met, one's in Michigan, one's in Maryland, and one's in Florida, and they're friends.
Yeah.
And the only time previously they had met was our 10 minutes prior to working out.
Right.
And that accumulates over a period of time, and you get to know somebody, and from the Kakana side, it just creates such a intense connection, because it's more than fitness. And and so that allows people to work out harder, right? You don't feel like you're being judged. It allows people to work out more. You can do multiple classes in a day or multiple classes in a week, because you don't have to worry about, is there a step to the gym?
Yeah.
Does the Peloton class even think about someone who's in a wheelchair, right?
Right.
Do I have to risk wearing or not, people not wearing a mask, or what's going on in my area? I mean, there's just so much that goes into it right now.
Well, I think the key thing that you said that really strikes home to me, I mean, I know even for me, just in general, like going to the gym, all you think about is, there's all these people here that are like gym rats, quote unquote, and they, I feel like they're watching me and how I work out, and am I doing something wrong? And when you're in a platform like this, it's, yes, you're connected with other people, but no one's looking at what someone else is doing. You're focused on you, you're focused on the instructor, but you're still also part of this community in the same way. And, what a great community to connect, when it probably is a little daunting to think, like, if I go to a gym, what kind of obstacles are there going to be? Is someone going to judge how I do something differently? Is someone going to be there to help me do something in a different way and understand my needs? Whereas someone's there to help. They're walking in the door, understanding your needs.
Yeah. I mean, it's very much, you allow people to be themselves without having to, put an asterisk by their name.
Yes.
Which, I think people get that in all sorts of ways, and be it fashion, or be it, sports or fitness for us, right? The connectivity comes about sharing experiences for one, and being around like-minded people too. And that creates a comfort level that allows you to flourish.
Right.
And at that point, then it's, you're off and running. You feel great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's key. Like you said, like there's so many times where I feel like in the disabilities community, like, oh, there's an asterisk by your name because you had it an adaptive way or something. But the reality is, like, I always like liken it to like the Paralympics. Like the Paralympics should definitely get as much, if not more, awareness, recognition, TV time as the Olympics, if you consider what some of these athletes are doing. It's insane what they're able to do. It's more than I can imagine some of the, athletes in the regular Olympic or the Olympics could do. And I feel like the fact that we're saying, oh, well, it's adaptive. Like I remember there's a couple people that went from Paralympics to the Olympics and everyone was saying, oh, well, they have a one up. I'm like, they don't have a one up. Are you out of your mind? They're not getting any extra. I mean, if anything, they've had to work 3 times as hard and they're there right next to you. That's huge. Like the asterisk should be on the other person.
Yeah.
I mean, should be opposite.
Look, you make it to the Olympics and you are an elite athlete.
Exactly.
And, I mean, we've got 2 para power lifters as instructors, and they are beasts.
Yeah.
I mean, we do the cross cycle class is a mixture between cycling and strength work. So, you do hand cycling, then you jump off and do small weight.
I love it.
And then you go back to the cycling, and I use 2.5 pounders, because it's just high rep and low weight. And
you don't have to excuse it. You can use 2.5. It's okay.
But Blaze is one of the instructors, and he's using 2.5 pounds, and I constantly watch, and he makes it look like a feather's in his hand.
And you're like,
holy crap. Like he's just flying up and down. The weights look like peanuts, and I'm sitting there like arms dropped to my shoulders. So, and an Olympian is an Olympian. And
right.
if you're an elite class as those athletes, then I mean,
they've put the work in.
Yeah. It's, be it para, however you want to classify it, they're all athletes. I mean, they're an elite athletes.
Exactly. And they've dedicated their life to something.
Yeah.
This isn't like they just jumped in and said, oh, I'm going to try this thing. I'm not going to play soccer today. Like this is something they've dedicated their life to, and they spend all of their time focused in training. And it's not something I have that kind of like mindset or dedication for. So they get extra credit for doing that. And
by the way, you still have to be good.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to have some sort of talent like in your little finger to make it happen. Exactly. So so tell us, a little bit about like the exercise classes themselves. How do those work? I mean, you told us a little bit, but like what types of exercise classes do you offer?
Yeah. So we started, to be honest, with this cross cycle class, and it's our signature class. We built it out of the boutique fitness model, what everyone was thinking about in terms of cycling. Mm-hmm. And we built ours around the hand cycle. And so that's the main class. And it's a mixture between cardio and strength. Mm-hmm. And you use a hand cycle, you use weights, and you don't even need weights. I mean, you could use body weight, to be honest. Yeah. And it's, to music and you're bouncing around and you're enjoying it. And so that's the signature class. And then from there, we wanted to build a fuller platform around it. So we added a strength class on its own with small weights. Eventually I'd like to add a resistance band class.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And then we added adapted yoga, meditation. Coming in January, we're bringing in an instructor from London or from Northern England to do cardio boxing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. She's dynamic. And then as well as we're adding 2 more strength classes with an instructor out of New Hampshire.
Very cool.
And so that'll build out the classes for probably the next 6 months, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, look, I think you could look at something like Zumba, something in the Pilates range.
I know, like, have you ever considered, like, I know it's like super popular, and I'm like rowing, like a row machine like that. I know it's a very popular.
Yeah. You know what? The idea initially, so my cross cycle,
my favorite.
Everybody has a whole rack of different stuff. My cross cycle cost $25.
Wow.
And then, I found the weights in the back of my house. We tried to create classes that were low entry level, right? So it didn't cost a lot. We even told people in our beta class, if you wanted to come in and try it, use a towel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and you don't need, like, the hand cycle that goes on like a table. The price point must not be too high.
No, I mean,
in comparison,
get the cheap ones. Yeah, you can get the cheap ones for $25, $30, and you can get. Look, there are really nice ones that some of our instructors have,
right.
And some of our members have that are $200, $300, $400, and those are
right.
fantastic, right? But start small,
right?
And if you like it, then jump to a higher level. And that was the hope, was can we get people in without themselves fearing
the investment?
Well, if I buy all this and it's a waste and I don't like it, here, test it out, see if you like it, see if you like the community, and then if you do, great. If you don't, no problem either.
Well, you're also targeting to a community that, the reality is, medical costs are higher for, this community. Everything's just a little bit more strained sometimes when it comes to the financial burden. So if there's something that has a lower investment, but is getting a high, what's the word? Like, a high, exactly. A high return is so important to getting people to, be a part of it and to jump in, because there's not that, concern of, I don't know if I can afford this investment. And then what happens when I, invest and then I can't do it because I have medical issues or whatever. And now, 6 months down the line, I've taken a month and a half break. Am I wasting my money? It's just like this. It's like you can jump in. The investment is low. It sounds like you have some classes that don't even need equipment really as much. So there's that, and, as well, which definitely seems awesome. I mean, even in our world, all the time, I think, like, how can we be a part of something for our son that isn't going to break our bank if he's over it in a year, or it's not going to work for him in a year?
Right. Well, it seems like it's a lot of different levels of therapy when you take and consider the 10 minutes before each class. So you do have like that intellectual conversations that you can have with people, especially in today's time of the
COVID world. It's like the never-ending COVID.
Yeah, so I don't like talking about it, but it'll be over eventually.
We
but
say it in every episode. We say we're not going to keep talking about this, and then we talk about it.
But I mean, and that's awesome that you have that, and then the levels of physical therapy, where that's what is missing from you're filling a huge void. That's what's missing. You don't have the ability to go to a gym where they can have these workouts catered to you, nor can you have a what do you call those guys? A personal trainer. Personal trainer, who's going to create a whole regiment based around your abilities, your personal abilities that you can do. Because you're like, I don't know, I'm not a physical therapist.
That's actually a perfect point. Like, I have chronic pain issues, and I used to be a part of a gym membership, and I used to go all the time. I had a trainer, and so it was just like it doesn't work. And I would explain to that trainer, like, I can't do like a 30-minute aggressive, training, and then like I'm going to be passed out in the bathroom by the end of this. Like, it's just not going to work for me. And they would be like, well, this is what we do. I'm like, well, you're the trainer.
You got to push yourself.
You have to push yourself. And I'm like, I need to not be
dying.
Yeah, I need to not be pushing myself. Like, I need to be able to walk tomorrow so I can come back here. And so I can't tell you how many times I've even said to Eddie, like, especially before the pandemic, and once it started, I was like, I just wish I could find something that would work around my chronic pain. And there was like 2 trainers that I sat and had like Zoom calls with, and I was like, this is what I need. And then the cost was like insane. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I'm for like 4 sessions. And I'm like, it doesn't work, especially when they're like, I might be able to work around your needs, but this is how I do my training. And I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't work for me. Like, I actually want to be stronger and I want to feel good, but not at the expense of losing a whole day of pain.
Yeah, not at the expense of having to crawl to the
Exactly.
sink the next morning.
Exactly. So now, are your exercise classes, I know they're clearly very inclusive to the disabilities community. Are they inclusive to people without disabilities as well? Are you kind of mixing all of your classes together? How does that work?
Yeah, no, it's open. You know, it's individuals with and without disabilities. And the reason I say with first is what we talked about before, right? It's accessible first, but I'm an individual without a disability and I'll do cross cycle 3 days a week. I love it.
Awesome.
Doesn't mean I won't go out and run or do something that I like as well, but I like the cross cycle class. And once we build out, I have a feeling I'll be doing strength classes when the times just don't match building a business as well.
I bet.
Yeah. But it works for other people, which is great. Fine. But yeah, it's open. I mean, even our instructors, we have our instructors, 6 of 7 are instructors with disabilities. And 1 is without. And the goal, the 2 new ones we're bringing on, 1 is an individual with a disability, 1 is an individual without. And so we're bringing, that's 7 of 9. Yeah. And the goal would be to have at least a 75-25 ratio. So
Fantastic.
that individuals with disabilities are training individuals with and without.
Right.
And individuals without disabilities are training with and without. And you're not saying, well, this group goes here, this group goes here.
Right.
And you're all going right here and you're going to get punished and you're going to enjoy it. And, it's going to be intense. And we'll get something out of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big misconception. Like, if you're adapting something to somebody with a disability or a need, then it's less difficult, or you're getting less out of it. I mean, it's not true.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
It's not true.
I one of my pet peeves is this, putting kid gloves on somebody.
Yes.
Or tapping them on the head and saying, just do what you can. I fucking hate it.
Well, it's not helping anybody, as a whole. Like, our son does CrossFit through our disabilities resource group out here, and it's a kids CrossFit. It's like, but everybody in the group has a different need.
Yeah.
And I watch it and I think, I can't do half of these things that they're pushing him to do, and they push him to do it. I mean, they're not taking excuses, and they're, it's amazing. I love it. I'm like, this is the best physical therapy once a week. And at the beginning, he was whiny. He was like, I don't want to do this. This is hard. I can't do it. I would hear him say, I can't do it so many times. And now, his kid does like 4 rounds of 10 push-ups at 8 years old. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? I can't do 5 push-ups. Like, it's so impressive how every week they've kind of added a little bit more. They added a row machine. They've added the rope. They've added all these things that they just kind of push him a little bit more each week because they're watching what he's capable of doing. They're working it around what he's capable of versus saying, this is what we have. And, you could do like you said, do as much as you can. It's such a easy, especially nowadays. I feel like we live in a world with kids with needs and not needs, but we live in a world where the rhetoric is, if it's hard, don't worry. Instead of like, I feel like when I grew up, it was like, too bad.
Yeah, you got to
pull your
push
boots
through
on.
that.
Let's go.
Yeah. You think this is tough. Wait till you get older. Like, that's always been the thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, like you got to keep going. It's hard to pass that on now, but he's getting there. Yeah. Eddie's really like tenacious, and so I remember when he first started doing like push-ups and stuff. I'm like a big critic, so I'll be like, straighten your back out. That doesn't count. And like Kristen would be like, no, he did like 20, and I'd be like, no, he hasn't even done 1. You haven't even done 1. And so like,
we have different parenting styles. Yeah. I'm very like, it's okay, honey. I say all this, but really, I will let him get away with anything.
Do your best, and I'm just like, no, you got to beat everybody else to make sure like that you are. And that's my big thing. Like for him, like, because he's the little guy, he's, he is looked at a little differently sometimes. And I'm like, you have to be the best in so much so just to be considered equal sometimes. I was like, but don't be discouraged. Just know that's kind of what if you want to be proud of yourself, that's what you have to accomplish.
It's tough being the little guy.
Yeah. Because that's like what I've had to do. It's like you always have to be like the best, and don't get mad that you had to be the best by a lot in order to be seen as an equal. It's like that's just the thing, but just know in your heart you're the best. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys sound like me and my wife. I'm constantly saying that she can't even run to the door and back. What's her problem right now?
Exactly.
My wife's like, well, she's 2.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if she's 2 or 22.
Yeah.
We're going to make excuses when she's 22?
Yes. Yes, we will. That's
Give
exactly.
it a stopwatch. Start again, honey.
No. 100%
Exactly.
we will make excuses until they're 52. That's what mommies do.
Yeah. We have the same dynamic here.
Yeah. I think it's pretty typical, and I'm okay with it, and I don't care.
Well, because I'll catch her doing that. I'd be like, why are you doing that for him? Well, because he needs some help.
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't need any help anymore.
Doesn't.
But I'm learning.
Do it yourself. What was can you give me something to drink? Nope, get it yourself. Get it. Get up. Get it yourself.
I gave him a lot of drinks throughout the day.
He did just have like back surgery, and I'm like,
yeah, he just had his spine ripped open. Basically, he had his whole spine worked on.
They stitched it back up.
He asked for a drink. I'm getting it.
So he gets a week reprieve.
That's what
exactly.
Eddie thinks.
That's
exactly.
That's all you get.
So tell us, how do your memberships work?
So it's monthly.
Okay.
We're $14.99 a month, and the idea was
it's $14.99 a month for anyone, unlimited classes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's like
I'm joining tomorrow.
Yeah. We have members that are taking 4, 5, 6 a week.
Wow.
So they're basically paying 75 cents per class. And the idea was, it was on purpose. Look, I was fully aware of what was going on, not only during COVID, but also with communities of individuals with disabilities, in terms of, I wanted Kakana to be a complement to every other great outlet out there.
Yes.
So pre-COVID, it was, why can't we be a complement to the nonprofits that are doing in-person programming?
Yep.
Right.
Because in reality, most in-person programming is once a week, twice a week. Well, what do you do between Monday and Monday? Or what do you do between Wednesday and Wednesday? And can we supplement, going and playing soccer or rock climbing or skiing in Colorado, wherever you are, right? With not losing that fitness level and moving the needle consistently. And then obviously once COVID hit, everyone went online, which is a funny story as well. I have another time, so many nonprofits told me that nobody in their communities would ever go online and would ever stream workouts, and couldn't and wouldn't, and blah, and the amount of excuses, and now they're all doing it.
Oh, just like I feel like there's so many employers that are like, this model won't work, so you can't work from home, and now everybody's working from home.
Well, I guess I can.
At some point in time, I'm going to come back and waggle my finger at them. Like, oh, you were saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we wanted to be a complement to all of what was out there. So it was on purpose. It didn't want to be $40. So someone had to choose between Kakana and adapted soccer, or your skiing program, or your rock climbing program. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that was the idea behind it.
It also takes away from those, like, I know, like for us, like, even like Eddie's CrossFit is only like 6 weeks. Right. And then they've got to kind of find the money to make that happen again. If it happens again that season or that year, or some of these things like sled hockey that he does, or they're just seasons.
Yeah.
So it's something to do in between all of that stuff to kind of keep it going and keep yourself strong and active and just and social in a way, like you said, like, it's just, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. And, like you mentioned, like the price point is perfect for this community, and the fact that they don't always have to have a specific piece of equipment. Like, I feel like if you're part of Peloton, like, yes, you can take Peloton classes without the equipment, but it's really geared to buying that bike or buying that mirror or whatever. That's their end game.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad either. I mean, it's a great model and it works, but I think it's geared towards a different type of a different part of the community than where the need is in this area.
Yeah, I agree. And what we're doing as well is we're trying to build out from that. And, what else does the community want?
Right.
And so we're going to run roundtable events and we've got our first one that'll come up in February. That's going to be on COVID isolation.
Fantastic.
And how to facilitate and enhance wellness during COVID, and during the isolation of COVID for individuals with and without disabilities. And so we've got a crazy good experienced panel that's going to give advice and tips and, tricks and stuff that is physical, that's psychological, that's, wellness based. So roundtables, we could build into fashion. You could build into money, right? How to save and where to,
or food. I feel like food would be huge.
Yeah.
Like, nutrition is huge right now.
Nutrition will be the next one. It'll probably be the second one we do. But you can do it because you have a good membership that wants to learn and wants to be a part of it. You can offer things and we can ask them. I mean, look, I ask them what their interests are on a daily basis.
Right.
What do you want? What do you think?
I think you're going to get that feedback. Like you said, that 10 minutes before class, without even realizing it, you're probably getting some feedback. Not unintentionally, you know what I mean? So I think that's fantastic. Question, what we're looking for is obviously geared towards our 8-year-old son most of the time. Is this something you'd consider? I know you've worked with children, you've worked with students. Is this something you've considered kind of modeling for children as well in the community?
Right now, I would say it really depends on the kid. I would say a kid that's 14.
Yep.
Look, if I were 14, I could do what we're doing.
Right.
I was bouncing off the walls. I was active. I needed to be doing something every minute of the day.
Yep.
And so I think a 14-year-old could do it. Maybe half, maybe 10%. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah.
And then I'd say 18 and up, no problem.
Right.
And then eventually, I think there's definitely room to bring it to a youth level and say, okay, this is how we're going to run it. The other thing I would want to do, though, is have, and this is why I haven't done it yet, is because I want representation. I want the participants to see themselves in the instructors.
Oh, fantastic idea.
Right.
So where do you balance the kid instructor type?
Yeah.
Right? How old, how young?
Yeah, you may almost have to have like a parent and child class or something where you're both in it together and the instructors are both a parent and a kid or something like that. Yeah.
And so it's on my mind, just how to structure it is a little more tricky.
Right.
Well, I play a great child. Kristen tells me all the time. So if you guys need somebody,
we have a child right here.
I can fill in.
So, I think, for lack of a better word like this, I probably say it a million times. I probably said it, but it is just an amazing concept that has been brought to the community that just wasn't out there. I love when we get to bring resources to the community that are new, exciting, creative. It's so often I feel like that our community is just hearing the same stuff over and over as far as resources, and they're going to work for this much of the community, and I love when there is a resource out there that will work for everybody, no matter your ability, no matter, whatever it is your needs are, there's a resource that will work for you.
Right.
And any chance we can get to bring that to our community is like so exciting for me, because that's the stuff we're looking for too. Like for Eddie, his needs are so different than most kids with his disability, with most kids in our community. he is running, he's walking, but at the same time it's limited and he has more needs, and, you know, he's using a wheelchair part-time. There's just all these different variables where as someone, a lot of times people think like either you use a wheelchair full-time or you have, you know, a different type of special need or disability like autism or something else. And he's not really in that little bubble. He's kind of just different. And so it's really awesome. And we have friends in this community with the same disability that are older and adults. And I'm always watching and just kind of got my ear to the ground to see what they're doing and what resources they're taking advantage of. And then I'm kind of trying to grab them when we can, you know? And so I think it's really awesome that this is out there. You've done a great job. And it's always exciting for us to speak to somebody in this community who isn't from this quote unquote, from this community.
Yeah.
You know, when we meet someone who's like, this is something I thought would be really interesting, and they jump in full force. I'm always like, for us, we get into this because we have something
like pulling us into
it. You know, like we've got some skin in the game. But when someone's just like, I just thought this needed to come to the community and I'm in, I'm like, that's the best.
That's like saint quality right there.
No, it's just, we need advocates. You know what I mean? Like we need advocates that don't come from this community because I feel like it's heard more.
Yeah. I had one conversation that completely changed my thinking, just sold me on where I was going with it. I had a friend who was supposed to have 30-minute coffee, and this is a ways back, and it lasted 2 hours. And I walked away thinking, I've got something, and I know it. And you look back and you knew that was something that changed you.
Yeah.
In terms of whether it's business idea, gut feeling, the whole process. But I mean, look, I am not a empathetic, hey, soft and cuddly. Yeah, that's just not me. And I'm very non-apologetic. I come in and we're going to bust this thing open and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But I was nervous to understand, not to make a mistake. Right.
Yeah.
And every person you talk to inside communities of individuals with disabilities or outside, or who have a disability or don't, if they're just being authentic with you and given, just talking to you, they don't care.
No,
it's no different than, pushing for whatever sports team. I mean, yes. They want people who, what I realized is I don't have to have a disability to try to make a difference.
To have a voice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. And as I feel now very comfortable having conversations about what we're doing, knowing that I wasn't an individual with a disability.
Yep.
But I could see if you talk to the wrong people early on, and we were discussing this, prior to talking, and it's just sometimes, the wrong people can make it really uncomfortable when you're starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough not to be involved with that, with those types, but it's been open arms and very welcoming.
Well, I think, a big thing is, I shouldn't say misconception, but it is kind of a misconception, is that, and I think we are even learning this because, even for us, like the start of this podcast was really a concept. And the idea was, we thought we were going to be speaking to mostly parents, because that's who we are. Right. So we just thought, we'll talk to parents. And then as it kind of grew and we were getting more people that wanted to be on the show and more contacts, it ended up being a lot of individuals with disabilities who were adults in this community. And I think those were our most nervous episodes, because, we're very, it even says on our website, like, we are uncensored. It is, we don't check our political correctness at the door. And obviously we're not being rude and we're not going to the extreme, but at the same time, like, this is our world and our reality. And when I'm talking about our life with little Eddie, like, I can't be extra politically correct about it, because it's not how we are in life in this house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously not going to be rude or disrespectful to somebody, but it is what we're in. And I've learned that over time, and the more people we speak to in this community, it's very obvious that they're not looking for you to walk around them or talk around things. It's just, they aren't different than me and you. Like, there are people who are more sensitive. There are people who are not.
Right.
You just have to know who you're talking to and who your target audience is. And that's what's going to be the most important.
Yeah.
You're going to connect. If you're going to connect, you're going to connect. Like, that's, I think, the most important thing. And the fact that you're real and you're honest, and it's right there is what's going to get people to connect to you and in the company and in the model. I think that's what's definitely the most important thing.
Yeah. Preach.
So before we wrap up, we ask all of our guests if they had a moment to speak to our community, what kind of advice would they want to give them?
I would say don't take shit from anybody. I mean, do not allow anyone to tell you can't.
Perfect.
It's what we at Kakana are always saying is we want to blow open the fitness industry. So blow open whatever you're about to enter. And we had a post on Instagram today, and a member of ours sent us a message, and it was, my shoulders are wide, but it's taken me across the world playing basketball. My hips are bigger than my calves, but it helps me get to things that I cannot reach. My foot turns a little bit in because that's the way it is. But I'm a badass.
Love it.
I mean, it was, I immediately took it and posted it.
Yeah. You could start a whole campaign on that.
I mean, but that's exactly it, right? It's, do not apologize for one damn thing. Go out there and take what's yours and enjoy doing it. That would be my advice. And it would be the same advice that I have for my daughter, for your kids. And really it's the same advice, and that's the thing that I try to get out is I don't want advice that would specifically be for individuals with disabilities, because then you're trying to parse again. For me, it's like, you own it and take it.
Yeah.
So that's where I would.
I think that's amazing advice, especially it's like I said, it's honest advice. It is what it is. It's on the table. And if in general, like Eddie had said, if you're just like kind of talking around a subject or even just not being your authentic self, you're not getting anywhere. The most successful people in life are the ones that aren't making excuses for themselves. They're just going to be who they are. And sometimes they're a dick and sometimes they're not. And they're just, I just think like that, those are the most successful people in life. You never hear a successful person and you ask them, how'd you get here? And they're like, well, I just waited till the right time. Or
I apologize my way to the top.
Yeah, I apologize. People have straight out said like, I didn't apologize. I just pushed my way through. And sometimes I made some enemies, and that's okay. So tell us, what are you guys working on? Like, what are you working on? I know you mentioned it a little bit as far as kind of branching out and building out the classes. Anything else you guys are working on? It's tough right now with COVID.
But it's content development. It's building our membership. It's getting our name out there. I mean, we're 6 weeks old, so
that's crazy.
There are 1 million things to work on. But right now it's just creating badass workouts and making sure that everything is running smoothly in terms of whether it's the workouts or the tech or whatever it is, right? But putting a product out there every day, I think, is our biggest thing, and making sure that the members enjoy it. And I mean, the thing I get the most pride at we send a class review after every class, and members fill it out. And I think 98% are 5 out of 5s in terms of instructor was a badass, instructor was on fire, the class was awesome.
Well, then that shows that you guys are in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I fully expected that would be forced to have some really uncomfortable conversations with instructors. Being like, you kind of suck right now.
Yeah. The criticism speaks for itself. So you pick it up a little bit.
Here you go. Just handed it to them. Just in case.
Yeah. Can we talk either about upping your personality or we're going to have to figure out something else? But none of that. I mean, 5 out of 5s, instructors just on fire. And so that it's just making sure that is the consistent and then, building new workouts.
Well, I think that speaks a lot to the model you've created and the tone you've set of, not only this like high energy, world of fitness, but also the compassion and being a part of a community. And it's definitely a part of the tone you've set. I mean, I can't, and who you're bringing in as instructors. The fact that they're excited to be a part of something definitely is going to make them excited every time they sign on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our instructors are the lifeblood of this company. I mean, they are, their profiles on their own are just incredible. Right.
Yeah.
And so just let them do what they do well and get out the way. What is that? Warren Buffett always says, bring in people that are smarter, that are better, that do everything better than you. And great.
And let them do it.
That was the goal with everything I do. One, because I'm just not that smart, but two,
I doubt that.
you get people who are just unbelievable in what they're in their personality and their profile, and let them loose.
Yeah.
We'll train them in what we wanted out of the class, but then you let the horse out of the barn and just let their personality take over. And they have. I mean, I can't speak more highly than I possibly could about them because they're the best. So right. It's been great.
So what are you, where can everyone find you guys?
Yeah. So head to onekakana.com and you can jump on, take a look around. We have a 7-day free trial so you can test it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, we don't take a credit card or anything. You just punch your name in and then jump around. I mean, we've had so far, every single person that has taken a live class has become a full member.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's huge.
That speaks volumes too.
You go on and take a live class and then don't become a member, I'm coming after you.
No, don't worry.
Because you'll ruin our 100%. But no, it just shows. I mean, that goes back to the instructors, right? You feel a part. But yeah, it's, you get a free trial, you test run it for how you want. There's on-demand videos too that are all of our live classes go to on-demand. So you could go in and just do the on-demand stuff.
So you can do it at your time, whatever works for you. Oh, that's huge.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's huge too. Like, I mean, that it like struck me when you said it, but there are so many places that you do like a quote unquote free trial. And I think I've said quote unquote like 6 times today, but you do a free trial and they take your credit card and you forget to just deactivate it and it automatically renews. And I'm a firm believer that if that's something that's there's a reason.
You have to opt out instead of opt in.
Yes. And I'm like, there's a reason because they know you're not coming back after 7 days or 14 days. Whereas this, it's like, you are confident that like, if you do one class, they're into it.
There's
the 100% rating so far.
A 5-minute discussion. Exactly. I had a 5-minute discussion on this with a friend of mine. And I said, how does this process play itself out? And he was like, well, you've got X and you've got Y. And it was a no-brainer. I was like, well, I'm not looking to catch people. Like if our product doesn't work, it's because we suck. And
you have to work on it. Yeah. It's something you've got to fix.
It wasn't the right time or it was poorly done or whatever the excuse. I don't want to squeeze $14 out of someone who forgot to cancel on the day before. Right. It's just it's not worth it. And if you look at where the world's going, Apple's starting to go this way already, right? They're now you have to opt in.
Yep.
As opposed to taking all your information and opting out. Mm-hmm. So it just, look, it makes people a lot more likely to test you.
Yes.
Right? Because you're not sending them all their information. And I think it builds trust right off the bat anyway. It's like, all right, well, they're not squeezing me for my social security number right off the bat.
Right.
So I feel immediately more comfortable.
Awesome. So they
Catch
can
more
find
bees
you
with
at
honey.
onekakana.com. So it's ONE, like the number one, and then it's KAKANA, right? Okay.
I'm doing it in my head.
I know it's a lot of A's.
Well, she misspelled it like we were reading it out. She wrote Kanana, like a banana. And I was like, it's a Kanana.
onekakana.com, and you are on Instagram, Facebook, all of those social medias as well, right?
All at One Kakana as well. I try to make it as idiot proof as possible for people like myself that, you have different handles. It makes it so
I know, it's so difficult. Perfect. Well, we'll make sure we link everything. Remind everyone that there's a free trial, free 7-day trial. So to take advantage of it, take a look at it, run some classes and see if it fits for you and your lifestyle. We're super excited.
Make sure you take a live class so that we
interact. It's a time we need live.
Take a class.
I will. We need live communication with people. So if now when. Thanks, Matt. We really appreciate you joining us and being on the show.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, please make sure you share with a friend and leave a review.
You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode on our Facebook or Instagram on @specialaboutspecial. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.